Hi, my name is Sali Caselli. The following is a tutorial on using PowerPoint 2016. We will start with the basics and move into the more advanced features of PowerPoint. This tutorial is recorded in high definition, 1080p, so feel free to make it full screen so you can follow easier. I'm using here Windows 10. You can simply search here for PowerPoint to locate it and then hit enter. So on the left you'll have a listing of presentations that you have used earlier. You also have an option here to open prior presentations that you might have saved on your computer. Then here on the right hand side you have the option to start a blank presentation or to use one of those templates. Let's simply go and start a blank presentation to start with. Here on the very top you have these different menus. The idea here is that you move from each one of those tabs here on the top. Any of the basic functionality would be from the Home tab. Notice you have these different sections here related to font, paragraph, drawing, and such. Once you start making your presentation a little bit better and fancier, that's when you can go and insert additional components. Then you move into design, transitions, and so on. The idea here is that you have the Office ribbon on the very top with the different tabs, and each tab has different sections related to what you're doing in that context. On the left hand side you'll have the actual preview of each slide, so if you have more than one slide they'll show up right there. And then in the middle area we have the content of the slide. Typically the first slide is your title slide, where you put the title of your presentation along with a subtitle, either your name or something related to that. So now with our first slide here, all that we need to do is simply need to type the content. So it's just a matter of typing in any of those boxes that already exist in your slide. Now to add a new slide, all you have to do is you click on New Slide here on the left hand side, and again we are under the Home tab, and then click on New Slide. Since this is the second slide here in our presentation, it looks slightly different from the first one, and that is because the first one was actually a title slide. If you wanted to change this design, you can use this layout option here and change it to a different type of design here. Here, put in the title for our second slide. And it's a matter of simply clicking on each area and just typing the content of your slides. Another way to add a new slide is also by pressing Ctrl M on the keyboard. Notice as well that there's a drop down here right below New Slide, and this is where you can choose a different type of layout. In some cases, if you need to move slides around, you can simply drag them from here and drag them up and down as you need them, and then come back to the normal view. Now let's suppose that this was a quick presentation that we had to do for a class or for a meeting or whatever. So basically we just add in the content here very quickly by adding new slides, and then you could insert a couple images that I'll show you in a moment. Now the images, and we'll cover those in more detail, but let's suppose that this is an image that we want to utilize from the web, and notice I'm just simply right clicking and then I'm going to paste it in here. And obviously we can resize this, move it to where we want it. Now we move to the next slide. So we add more and more content. Now we can present this, or we can see what it looks like so far by clicking here under Slideshow and then choosing from beginning. You can also present it by using the Slideshow option here in the bottom, and that will start the presentation. And then just click on either the space bar or the mouse or the arrows here on the keyboard, and now we have a presentation that we can improve by using the additional tools that I'll cover shortly. Now to apply a design theme, you go here under the Design tab and then click on any of those options right here under Themes. If you click here on the drop down, there are additional themes that you can apply. Pick any of those. Once you pick a theme, it will apply that theme to all the slides in your presentation. So notice it changed the font here for all my slides. Once we apply a specific theme here, notice that we also have those variations for this theme. And this is kind of new in 2016. There's this type of design here. It's changing the font and it's changing different components here. Notice the colors are changing and such along with the font. In PowerPoint 2016, the default is 16 by 9 rather than 4 by 3, which was a standard presentation mode. So this is where you change the layout for your presentation. And we have a presentation that we were working on earlier. We have slides with various content in it, or you can have PowerPoint 2016 give you ideas on the design for this slide. So all that you'd have to do is click on the slide that you want to change the design for it, and then click on Design Ideas. For certain slides, depending on the content and such, because we don't have many objects in it, it may not give you any ideas. However, if you go on another one, for example, creating an outline, here we have 3 steps for it. Notice Design Ideas. It presents us with a bunch of options that we can simply click on it and it will apply it to our slide. It will change the whole design for our slide. Go to the next slide as well and then click on Design Ideas, and notice it's giving us similar designs here. So we could simply click on this option or that, or either one of those that makes our presentation more versatile. If I go here and insert a new slide and then I want an image that I copied from the web and such, notice as soon as I inserted the image here, it gives me additional ideas. For example, in this one, it's most of the slide here, it's going to be this picture and then some area here to insert content. Or we can go here to different other designs that might work best for this scenario. To insert slides in a presentation, you can simply go here under the Home tab, and then we go somewhere within our presentation where we want to import those new slides, and then we go under New Slide. Here we click on this little arrow here in the bottom, and then scroll all the way to the bottom here where it says Reuse Slides. Now notice here it's asking us where do we want to get the slides from, so we can simply go here under Browse and then go to a file in your computer. And let's suppose you want to import from this one, Guidelines on Using PowerPoint. Click on it, pick the slides that you want to import. Now notice there is also an option here for keeping the source formatting. Click on it, click on the slides that you want, and basically the system is going to import and try to adjust the content accordingly for the presentation that you're currently using. And this is much easier rather than copying and pasting objects or content manually. Now I want to insert objects in the current slide. So what I would suggest that you do is go here under the Insert tab and notice that you have a whole bunch of objects here that you can insert. By the way, the process for inserting an object and tweaking it, it's pretty much the same for any of those. First, if you wanted to insert a new slide, notice that this option, it was on the Home tab and it's also here on the Insert tab. So in this case, we click on Pictures and then locate the picture wherever it is in your computer and then click on Insert. When you insert it, then notice automatically the Design Ideas option comes up and then we can pick a design from here. Notice that for any of those objects, if you click on the object or the picture, notice you have those tools that show up. The idea here is that you can apply styles to any of the objects here in the presentation. To apply a style here, you can simply just hold the mouse on any of those and it will give you the live preview. There are additional options here and pick any of those designs from here. Now once you have chosen a particular design, notice that you can come back here under the Format tab for this object, for this picture, and you can change additional items here. So let's say you don't like an outline for it. Let's say you want to change the effects as far as whether you want shadow and such, or three-dimensional components. You can all tweak it from here. So the idea here is that you are selecting an object and then you're looking at the tools available for manipulating this object. Let's say that I wanted to insert another object here from the web. We can go here under the online pictures, and now it gives us a choice to search Bing. Simply type the word, and then once you have determined which image you prefer, then click on the image and then click on Insert. Once you insert the image in your presentation, notice that Design Ideas, it will come up automatically for all the components that we have in this slide at this point. So we could pick this design, or this particular one, or some other design that you might prefer from here. Instead of having a PowerPoint that has, for example, the continuous improvement process where you say, okay, plan, do, check, and act, you can represent this in a more visually appealing way. So there are two ways to do this. You can either create the smart art as you are inserting the content in a new slide, or you can convert existing content into smart art. So if we go here and we click on Insert and then a new slide, and then choose Smart Art. Under Smart Art, notice that you have all of these different designs. So let's say this is what you'd prefer, and then pretty much pick one of those designs from here, and then click on Add. The first step is planning, do, check what you did, and then act on it. Notice that we have an extra option here that doesn't fit for our idea or our design. In our case, we simply press backspace here. It's readjusting the whole layout or the whole design automatically. To tweak this further, you can simply click on this object, and notice we have two different tabs here for the Smart Art tools. So you can change the colors for this, and then you can apply even additional Smart Art styles and make this three-dimensional and such. Now in the cases where you have the outline and you have the content already typed, in this case you don't really need to delete this content. You can convert the existing layout of a slide into Smart Art. So you want to right-click anywhere where the bulleted list is, and then choose Convert to Smart Art. And then pick one of those designs. And then customize this to your liking by whether changing the colors or changing however you want to change those components. To insert charts, you'd simply go under Insert here, then under Insert, click on Chart, and then first pick the type of chart that you'd prefer to insert into your presentation, and then click OK. Now the next thing here is that it will actually open a worksheet very similar from Excel. And in our case here, let's assume that these are the quarters. So for example, we have Q1, Q2, Q3 sales, and then we have the categories here, tablets, desktops, mobile phones, and such. And these, let's say they are into millions or whatever the case might be. Then you would basically update this data from here. So let's say that was 4.5 million or whatever it may be the case. Just change those numbers, and notice it gives you a preview of what the data is going to look like. Now notice that there is a blue line here in the bottom. This is what controls what shows up on your chart. So you can simply drag this to the left, and now notice our chart, it's going to look differently automatically here. If we drag it to include, let's say, desktops as well, then it will readjust automatically. Then we close the data here, and now we have our chart. Now if we click on our chart, notice that we have two tabs here on the top. Let's say that we want to insert a video in this slide. We go here under Insert, and then we go under Video, and then we're going to pick the video from my PC. So you locate wherever your video is on your local PC, and then click on Insert. Now at this point you can resize it. So this is how large it's going to be. This is how big it's going to be. And then you can click here on the playback option, and then choose how you want this video to play. So when it reaches to this slide, when you're presenting this presentation, you want to know how you'll play it. So right now it is on click. If you want it so it starts automatically when it reaches this page, then you can do that by simply clicking automatically. So now if I wanted to present this, I'm doing it on click. All I have to do is either press F5 on my keyboard or go here to under present, slideshow, and then I'll click on it and it'll start playing. Now to stop it, I'm clicking on it again. To exit of the play mode here, press escape, and then we are back to the video. Now let's learn how to insert the video from the web. So I'm going to insert a new slide here, and then we go here under insert, and then we go under video, and then we choose online video. Notice we have two options here. We have the YouTube option and also embed it from another website. We want to search from YouTube. So for example, Word 2016. And here is a bunch of videos on Microsoft Word. We want this Excel tutorial, Excel in 30 minutes. Click on Insert here. Then resize it, how big you want this to be displayed when it's presented. And then go under Playback, very similar to what we did earlier. And then you can click on to start automatically or to start on click. And now if I go and present this video, when I click on it, it's going to be streamed automatically from YouTube. Of course, you'll need internet connection for that to take place. And welcome to Excel in 30 minutes. Click on Insert and then go under Audio and then Audio on my PC. Then locate your audio file and then go under Playback here and then choose how you want to play this audio file. You can relocate this, move this somewhere else, by the way, on your presentation here so that the icon does not show up. And you can choose to hide the icon, and also you can choose how it'll play. You can have it play automatically, and by the way, you can click on the icon here to get those playback tools here. And also it can play across all the slides. So if you're doing a presentation where you're not actually presenting, but there are pictures or there's content being displayed and automatically it's rotating and that type of thing, you might want to put sound on the first slide and then click on a play across all the slides, and you can choose also play until it's stopped. So it loops around. Now if we were to test this, at this point I have it so you click on it, but we could have checked it so it starts automatically. And then it'll just keep on playing from slide to slide to slide. A cool feature in PowerPoint 2016 is also the Morph feature here. Morph, it's new with the latest updates. As long as you have the latest PowerPoint 2016 updates, that feature should be there. If you don't have it there, that means that you don't have all the latest updates for PowerPoint 2016. The way it works is that it's actually pretty cool. You can take, for example, a slide, duplicate it, and by the way, this is how you duplicate a slide. Right click on it and then choose Duplicate Slide. And then go to this next slide here, and you can change something on it. So let's say when you're presenting this particular slide, you want it to be presented this way, but then when they go to the next slide, you want to take away, for example, number 2 here. And let's assume that you modified it. You can choose the option under Transitions to morph it. And I'll show you in a moment as to what this does. So it's going to morph from one form into some other form that you tweaked it into. In our case now, if we were to preview this, you can just simply click here on Slideshow, and this is how the first slide will appear, just like typically. But when I go to the next slide, notice how it does the animation so that those two items are adjusted, keeping in mind the change that took place from the first slide to the second copy of it that we made. It's basically you have to duplicate it, that's the trick. Duplicate an existing slide, add new content to the next slide, and then the system will animate or change, morphing the changes into animation and presenting it in a nice way. Any of the objects in a slide can be animated so that whenever you click on the spacebar or the mouse click or clicker, those objects can be presented one at a time or multiple units at a time, multiple objects at a time. It can be animation of pictures, of shapes. It could be animation of regular text and such. To animate bullet lists, as you go here under animation, click on the bulleted list, and then the easiest would be to choose what you want the animation to be. For example, here we want to apply the appear animation, and those will appear one at a time. So notice 1, 2, 3 here. These numbers mean that they will come one after the other once we click on them. To test this, notice we click on slideshow, and those objects here we did not apply animation yet, and therefore they come in with a slide when it's presented. Now those items, notice they come one at a time after I click on it. To customize this even further, what I would suggest that you try is actually click on the animation pane option right here, and notice it shows the items that were animated earlier. Now notice it's a little double arrow here. You can expand the contents, and it says that that's number 1 over here, this is number 2, that's number 3. Now here, notice you can start this, it says start on click. That's what these numbers 1, 2, 3 are. Start on click, and such. If we wanted number 2 here to come at the same time, to be presented at the same time as number 1, all you'd have to do is click on the drop down here on the right, and then choose start with the previous. Now notice those two will start together because it's 1 and 1, and then the next one it'll come by itself. If I present it, notice I'm pressing spacebar once here, the 2 came together, and then the third one by itself. Now you can add animation to any of the other objects that I mentioned earlier. You can, let's say, add here for the PowerPoint image here, you can simply click on add animation and then choose to appear or however you want the animation to be shown. Let's say that I want this picture, because right now it's going to come as number 3, it's going to be presented as number 3. If I want it to come together with these 2 items here, drag this here where it says number 3, picture 3, and notice if you click on it, it highlights it, drag it to wherever you want it on the previous sequence. Then click on the drop down here and choose to start with the previous. That means that all these 3 items here, these 3 objects, which would be this, and the picture, they'll be presented at the same time. So if I go and present this at this point, notice all 3 were presented at the same time. Then you can do the same thing for these other objects. So the same thing for the shape here as well. Choose animation, however you want it to appear. Now, in the cases where you have smart art, and smart art is this type of art like this, it's pretty similar, but there's one difference to it. So you go under animations, and then you click on animation pane, and then you add some kind of animation to these objects. Now notice the whole object here is selected, the whole smart art is selected. Click on add animation and pick any of those animations that you'd prefer. It doesn't matter, just don't make it too much. Let's say we want appear, and now notice here under the animation option there are the effect options as well, because by default if I play it right now without doing anything else, it's just going to present it. But we can customize it so each one of those items can come separately. And the way you do that is by clicking on the effect options and then choose one at a time. So if I go and present this and test it, notice you have the planning stage, you have the doing part of it, then the checking, and then acting on it, and so on. So it's more effective when you're using this type of bringing each step at separate times by using the Smart Art. And again, the trick there was, after you apply the Smart Art to it, you have this effect button here that you can pick. There are times where you have a presentation very similar to this, but you want to change or add a component like a logo or something on all slides in your presentation. And instead of you having to go through each one of the slides, you can change it in one location, and that logo or that component will be repeated across all the slides of the same kind in your presentation. So here's how you do it. Go to any of the slides here, it doesn't matter which one it is, and then we go here under View, and then notice there's an option here for Slide Master. It works basically on the type of slide that you're using. Right now this is called a content slide. You have the title for it, but then you have all these bullet levels and all this stuff. Let's say that I wanted to change the font here for this type of slide. Well, I could go under Home and then change it to a different type of font there. So let's say I wanted the Arial. So if I go here under Slide Master and I choose Close Slide Master View, now notice the type of font has changed as well across all the slides of the same kind. Now let's go back here under View and let's add a logo, for example. Go here under View again and then go to Slide Master again. Now I want to add the logo on any of those slides that have the title and the content here. I'll right click and choose Paste, and let's say I want this always to be in the bottom left. Now let's say that I have also other slides. I want it on all kinds of slides. Let's say if I want it on the title slide, I could put it in here. This is for the title style. Then this is for this type of layout, so I can right click, paste it there as well. Again, the idea here is that you're embedding, you're changing the slides of the same kind or the same layout. Close it. Now all my slides, notice they have the logo in the bottom. To insert notes, go into each slide here, and notice there is this option here in the bottom. It says Notes. Click on it, and you can move this further up and then just type your content in there for your presentation. So if whatever your script is going to be for that particular slide. So you'd go to the next slide here and insert the content. Keep in mind also that notes can be formatted, so you can make the font bold and such. So if you go here under File and then choose Print, notice that here under what you want to print, you want to choose here the Notes pages. Notice that it is going to be one slide per page, and the notes that you entered earlier under each slide, they're going to be displayed right below the actual slide. The other method is when you go to present your presentation, you can also use what's called the presenter view. To use a presenter view, you just make sure you have the presenter view enabled, and then here you can choose on which monitor it will be displayed. Your presentation will be displayed, or your notes will be displayed. So we make sure that we have the presenter view here, and then we choose from the beginning. Now at this point, notice this is what the audience will be seeing. It's the actual slide on the projector, and then this is a preview of the next slide that will come up, and then here are the notes that we had typed from before. Notice here in the bottom you can actually click to make this text much larger, and it will be very similar to like having a teleprompter for you. Notice that you also have this pen here where you can actually annotate as you are presenting to your audience. So you choose the pen option and you can annotate and also read your notes over here on the right hand side. There might be cases where you have to send your presentation to someone outside of your organization, and for various reasons you don't want to send it in PowerPoint format, but you want to send it in PDF. Click on File here, and then choose Export, and then choose Create PDF XPS Document. Then click on Create PDF XPS, click on Publish, and this will be published in PDF format, and there is the document. Of course, the animations will not be embedded, and of course the videos from YouTube will not be embedded either.